In 2024, one man became more valuable to the global economy than almost any politician, billionaire, or world leader. Every major AI company wanted what he controlled. Governments competed for his technology. Investors followed his every word. And yet, decades earlier, this same man was just an immigrant kid cleaning toilets in America. His name is Jensen Huang. Today, he is the founder and CEO of NVIDIA, the company that sits at the center of the artificial intelligence revolution. But none of this was supposed to happen. This isn't just another billionaire success story. It's a story of survival, a story of impossible risks, and perhaps the greatest long-term business bet in modern history. Because long before AI transformed the world, long before NVIDIA became one of the most valuable companies on Earth, there was simply a frightened little boy trying to find his place in a country that wasn't his own. Jensen Huang was born in Taiwan in 1673. His parents believed education was the only path toward a better future. Like many Asian families during that era, they dreamed of giving their children opportunities they themselves never had. Those dreams eventually led them toward America. But the journey would begin under circumstances no child should ever experience. When Jensen was only 9 years old, his parents decided to send him and his older brother to the United States before the rest of the family could follow. The plan sounded simple. Study hard, learn English, build a better future. Instead, everything went wrong. Through a misunderstanding, the two brothers were mistakenly enrolled in a boarding school in rural Kentucky. But this wasn't the kind of school their parents had imagined. The institution had a reputation for housing troubled teenagers, students with behavioral problems, and children who had nowhere else to go. For two young boys who barely spoke English, it felt like another world. Jensen suddenly found himself surrounded by older students who were stronger, tougher, and often aggressive. He was small, quiet, and completely out of place. He later described feeling terrified. Every day became a lesson in survival, not success. Survival. Life there wasn't glamorous. Far from it. The boys were assigned chores that many children would never expect. They cleaned bathrooms, scrubbed floors, worked in kitchens, handled jobs that taught one unforgettable lesson. Nobody owes you anything. If you want a better future, you have to build it yourself. Those difficult experiences left a permanent mark on Jensen. Instead of becoming bitter, he became resilient. Instead of giving up, he learned to adapt. Looking back years later, he would often credit those early hardships for shaping the mindset that would eventually define his entire career. Eventually, the family reunited. Jensen's parents settled in Oregon. Life became more stable, but the challenges didn't disappear. He still spoke with an accent. He still looked different. He still had to prove himself every single day. Fortunately, Jensen discovered something that didn't care where he came from: mathematics, engineering, computers. Unlike people, technology never judged him. Equations didn't care about his background. Logic didn't care about his accent. If something worked, it worked. That simple truth fascinated him. As a teenager, Jensen developed an obsession with understanding how machines function. He wasn't interested in becoming famous. He wasn't dreaming about billions of dollars. He simply loved solving difficult problems. That curiosity eventually brought him to Oregon State University, where he studied electrical engineering. He graduated at just 20 years old. While many graduates were still searching for direction, Jensen already knew where he wanted to be: Silicon Valley, the birthplace of modern technology. It was the early 1980s. Personal computers were beginning to reshape the world. Companies like Apple and IBM were rewriting history. The semiconductor industry was exploding with opportunity. For ambitious engineers, there had never been a better time to enter the field. Jensen accepted engineering positions where he absorbed everything he could. Every circuit, every manufacturing process, every leadership lesson. Without realizing it, he was quietly preparing for something much bigger. Most people spend their 20s trying to build a career. Jensen spent his learning how entire industries worked. He watched companies succeed. He watched companies fail. He learned that technology alone wasn't enough. Execution mattered. Leadership mattered. Timing mattered. And perhaps most importantly, the willingness to keep betting on the future even when everyone else believed you were wrong. That lesson would soon become the foundation of everything he built. Because in just a few years, Jensen Huang would make one of the most dangerous decisions of his life. He would leave behind the safety of a promising engineering career to build a tiny startup that almost nobody believed could survive. That company was called NVIDIA. Every successful company has a moment when everything could have ended. For NVIDIA, that moment lasted for years. Today, NVIDIA is one of the most valuable companies in the world. Its chips power artificial intelligence. Its technology drives self-driving cars. Its hardware trains the world's most advanced AI models. But in the early 1990s, NVIDIA was nothing more than 3 engineers with a crazy idea. No customers, no successful products, no guarantee they would survive another year. And if history had gone just a little differently, the AI revolution might have belonged to someone else. By the early 1990s, Jensen Huang had already built a strong reputation as an engineer. He worked at AMD before joining LSI Logic, where he quickly climbed into management. Unlike many brilliant engineers, Jensen understood something equally important. Technology alone doesn't build great companies. Leadership does. He had watched successful businesses grow. He had watched others disappear. And one idea kept returning to his mind. The future of computing would require far more graphics processing power than traditional CPUs could ever provide. Most people weren't thinking about that. Personal computers were still relatively new. The internet hadn't yet transformed the world. Gaming was considered a niche hobby. Very few investors believed graphics would become a trillion-dollar industry. Jensen believed otherwise. One afternoon in 1993, Jensen met with 2 fellow engineers, Chris Malachowski, Curtis Priem. Instead of sitting in a boardroom, the 3 met at a small restaurant in Silicon Valley. Over lunch, they discussed a question that would eventually reshape modern computing. What if we built a company focused entirely on graphics? It sounded almost ridiculous. The market was crowded, competition was fierce, and none of them had experience running a startup. Yet they shared one belief: graphics would eventually become one of the most important technologies in computing. Before lunch was over, NVIDIA had been born. Starting a company was exciting. Keeping it alive was another story entirely. The semiconductor industry was brutally expensive. Designing a chip required millions of dollars. Manufacturing mistakes could destroy an entire product line. One failed launch could bankrupt a young company overnight. Unlike software startups, hardware companies couldn't simply update their products after release. Every mistake cost real money, and NVIDIA made plenty of mistakes. Their first products failed to impress customers. Sales remained weak. Money disappeared faster than anyone expected. Investors grew nervous. Competitors were much larger. Companies like 3DFX, ATI, S3 Graphics, and Matrox already dominated the graphics market. Compared to them, NVIDIA looked tiny. Many analysts believed the startup wouldn't survive. Inside the company, pressure intensified every single week. Payroll still had to be paid. Engineers still needed salaries. Manufacturing contracts still demanded cash. Meanwhile, revenue barely covered expenses. Jensen later admitted the company came dangerously close to running out of money. At one point, NVIDIA reportedly had only enough cash to survive for a matter of months. Imagine carrying that responsibility. Hundreds of employees depending on your decisions, millions of dollars already invested, and the growing possibility that everything you've built might disappear forever. Most founders would have played it safe. Jensen did the opposite. He doubled down. Instead of making small improvements, NVIDIA decided to redesign everything. It was an enormous gamble. The company couldn't afford another failure. Engineers worked around the clock. Deadlines became relentless. Stress filled every department. For Jensen, leadership wasn't about pretending everything was fine. It was about helping his team believe success was still possible, even when the numbers suggested otherwise. Years later, employees would describe his leadership style as demanding, sometimes brutally demanding. But they also knew something else. Jensen expected more from himself than he expected from anyone else. He wasn't asking people to work harder than he did. He was leading from the front. Then came the breakthrough. In 1997, NVIDIA introduced the Riva 128. Unlike previous products, this graphics processor delivered the performance customers had been waiting for. Manufacturers adopted it quickly. Gamers loved it. For the first time, revenue began flowing into the company. NVIDIA had survived. Barely. But Jensen knew survival wasn't enough. Winning required staying years ahead of everyone else. Most CEOs would have celebrated. Jensen immediately started planning the next generation. Only 2 years later, NVIDIA released the GeForce 256. The company described it as the world's first graphics processing unit, or GPU. At the time, most people didn't realize they were witnessing history. Gamers simply noticed faster graphics. Developers enjoyed better performance. Investors saw another successful product. But Jensen saw something much bigger. He believed the GPU would eventually become a completely new kind of processor, not just for games, for science, medicina, engineering, artificial intelligence. Almost nobody agreed with him. At the time, that prediction sounded absurd. Why would anyone use graphics chips for anything besides graphics? Yet Jensen kept investing, year after year, ignoring critics, ignoring short-term profits, betting everything on a future that didn't yet exist. That willingness to think decades ahead would eventually become NVIDIA's greatest competitive advantage. But Jensen wasn't finished making impossible bets, because the next decision he made would confuse Wall Street, frustrate investors, and lay the foundation for the modern AI revolution. He would spend billions of dollars creating a software platform that almost nobody wanted. Its name was CUDA, and it would change everything. Most CEOs build products for today's market. Jensen Huang spent billions building for a future that didn't exist. After the success of the GeForce 256, NVIDIA had finally escaped survival mode. The company was profitable. Its reputation was growing. Gamers loved its graphics cards. Wall Street was beginning to notice. For many CEOs, this would have been the perfect time to play it safe, protect profits, expand market share, keep investors happy. But Jensen Huang wasn't interested in becoming just another successful hardware company. He wanted something much bigger. He wanted to redefine computing itself. At the beginning of the 2000s, almost everyone believed the CPU was the brain of every computer. Intel dominated the industry. AMD competed fiercely. Every important task from spreadsheets to web browsing depended on the CPU. Graphics cards had only one purpose: render better games. That was it, or so everyone believed. Jensen saw something others didn't. A graphics processor wasn't simply another computer chip. It was a machine designed to perform thousands of calculations simultaneously. While a CPU handled a few complex tasks, a GPU could process thousands of smaller tasks all at once. That difference would eventually change the world. There was just one problem. Almost nobody knew how to use a GPU for anything other than graphics. Scientists ignored them. Universities ignored them. Software developers ignored them. The hardware was powerful, but there was no practical way to unlock that power. Most companies would have waited for someone else to solve the problem. Jensen decided NVIDIA would solve it themselves. In 2006, NVIDIA introduced something that confused nearly everyone. It wasn't another graphics card. It wasn't a faster gaming chip. It wasn't even hardware. It was software. Its name was CUDA. CUDA, short for Compute Unified Device Architecture, allowed programmers to use GPUs for general-purpose computing instead of just rendering images. To many investors, the idea seemed absurd. Why would a graphics company spend enormous amounts of money developing software? Where was the profit? Who would actually use it? Even inside the industry, many believed Jensen was wasting valuable resources. But Jensen wasn't building for next quarter. He was building for the next 20 years. Creating CUDA required years of investment, thousands of engineering hours, developer tools, documentation, training, research partnerships, and countless conversations with universities and scientists. None of this generated immediate revenue. Quarter after quarter, the expenses kept growing. Wall Street questioned the strategy. Competitors focused on selling more hardware. NVIDIA focused on creating an entire ecosystem. Jensen understood a simple truth. The best hardware in the world is useless if nobody knows how to use it. Slowly, the strategy began to work. Researchers discovered that GPUs could dramatically accelerate scientific simulations. Medical researchers processed genetic data faster than ever before. Oil and gas companies improved seismic analysis. Financial institutions accelerated complex risk calculations. Universities adopted CUDA for cutting-edge research. Industries that had never cared about graphics cards suddenly became NVIDIA customers. The GPU was no longer just for gamers. It had become a high-performance computing engine. Still, the biggest breakthrough hadn't happened yet. Across the world, a small group of researchers were working on something called deep learning. At the time, artificial intelligence wasn't attracting billions of dollars. It wasn't dominating headlines. Most people considered it an interesting academic field with limited real-world applications. Training neural networks required enormous computational power. Traditional CPUs struggled with the workload, but GPUs handled those calculations astonishingly well. Because CUDA already existed, researchers didn't need to invent a new platform. NVIDIA had unknowingly spent years building exactly what they needed. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 2012, a neural network called AlexNet stunned the artificial intelligence community. Running on NVIDIA GPUs, it dramatically outperformed previous computer vision systems. For AI researchers, this wasn't just another improvement, it was proof. Proof that deep learning actually worked, and proof that GPUs were the fastest way to make it happen. Almost overnight, the relationship between AI and NVIDIA became inseparable. Most people didn't notice what had happened. The headlines focused on artificial intelligence. Few realized that behind nearly every major AI breakthrough, there was NVIDIA hardware, and behind that hardware, there was a decision Jensen Huang had made years earlier. A decision almost everyone believed was a mistake. CUDA had transformed NVIDIA from a gaming company into the foundation of the AI era. The gamble had paid off. But Jensen's greatest challenge was still ahead, because the world was about to experience an AI explosion unlike anything in history. And suddenly, every technology giant on Earth would need one thing: NVIDIA GPUs. History rarely changes overnight. But in late 2022, one product launch triggered the biggest technology race since the birth of the internet. And at the center of it all stood one company, NVIDIA. For years, Jensen Huang had been preparing for a future that most people couldn't even imagine. He invested in GPUs. He invested in CUDA. He invested in AI research. While others chased quarterly profits, Jensen kept building, patiently, quietly, confident that one day, the world would finally understand what NVIDIA had been creating. That day arrived on the 30th of November 2022. OpenAI released a chatbot called ChatGPT. Within days, millions of people were asking it questions, writing essays, generating code, creating business plans, summarizing books. The public had never seen artificial intelligence behave like this before. For the first time, AI wasn't just a tool for scientists. It had become something everyone could use, and demand exploded overnight. But there was one problem. Training large AI models required unimaginable computing power. Not hundreds of GPUs, not thousands. Sometimes, tens of thousands of GPUs working together simultaneously. There was only one company capable of supplying them at scale: NVIDIA. Every new AI model required more hardware. Every larger model required even more GPUs. The more powerful AI became, the more valuable NVIDIA became. Jensen Huang had spent nearly 30 years building the infrastructure for a revolution that had finally arrived. Then came the arms race. Microsoft invested billions into OpenAI. Google accelerated development of Gemini. Meta dramatically expanded its open-source AI strategy. Amazon invested heavily in cloud AI infrastructure. Oracle, Tesla, Kasai. Nearly every major technology company suddenly faced the same reality. Without advanced GPUs, they couldn't compete. Orders flooded into NVIDIA faster than factories could produce chips. Waiting lists grew longer. Entire data centers were designed around NVIDIA hardware. Companies weren't simply buying graphics cards anymore. They were buying the foundation of artificial intelligence. Demand quickly outpaced supply. Cloud providers fought to secure shipments. Governments began treating AI chips as strategic national assets. Technology executives personally met with Jensen Huang to negotiate supply agreements. The world's most powerful companies were now competing for access to NVIDIA products. It was a remarkable reversal. Just decades earlier, NVIDIA had struggled to survive. Now, the world couldn't build the future without it. Financial markets reacted with astonishing speed, quarter after quarter. NVIDIA reported revenue figures that stunned analysts. Profits surged, margins expanded. The company's market value climbed at a pace rarely seen in corporate history. Investors who once questioned Jensen's long-term vision now praised him as one of the greatest technology leaders of his generation. Wall Street had spent years asking whether AI would ever become profitable. Suddenly, the answer was obvious, and NVIDIA was collecting the rewards. Yet Jensen refused to slow down. Instead of celebrating, he accelerated. At every NVIDIA GTC conference, he unveiled increasingly ambitious technologies, new GPU architectures, faster networking, AI supercomputers, entire software ecosystems. His presentations no longer resembled ordinary product launches. They became global technology events. Millions watched online. Developers analyzed every announcement. Investors scrutinized every roadmap. Competitors tried desperately to catch up. The man once dismissed as a niche graphics executive had become one of the most influential figures in global technology. Then came another milestone, the introduction of the Blackwell AI platform. It wasn't merely another graphics processor. It represented an entirely new generation of AI computing, designed specifically for training and deploying massive language models. Blackwell pushed performance to levels that had seemed impossible only a few years earlier. Major cloud providers placed orders almost immediately. AI startups followed. National research laboratories joined the queue. Demand once again exceeded supply, and Jensen was already discussing what would come next. Perhaps the most remarkable part of NVIDIA's success wasn't the technology itself. It was the consistency of Jensen's vision. He had never changed the destination, only the timeline. When investors doubted GPUs, he kept building. When competitors dismissed CUDA, he kept investing. When artificial intelligence seemed like a distant dream, he kept preparing. By the time the world realized how important AI would become, NVIDIA was already years ahead. Today, whether you're chatting with an AI assistant, generating images, designing new medicines, writing software, or training autonomous robots, there's a good chance NVIDIA hardware is working somewhere behind the scenes. The company no longer powers only games. It powers the future. But success always attracts challengers. As NVIDIA's dominance grew stronger, so did the determination of rivals to take its crown. Because in technology, no empire lasts forever. The question wasn't whether competition was coming. The question was, could anyone actually stop Jensen Huang? Most CEOs manage companies. Jensen Huang built a culture that turned impossible ideas into reality. When people think about NVIDIA, they usually think about AI, GPUs, supercomputers, or trillion-dollar valuations. But inside Silicon Valley, Jensen Huang is known for something else. His leadership, because behind every revolutionary product stands a company capable of building it. And behind that company stands one of the most demanding CEOs in modern business. Walk into NVIDIA headquarters, and you'll notice something unusual. Jensen Huang doesn't isolate himself in a giant executive office. He prefers sitting among engineers. He attends technical meetings. He reviews product designs. He asks detailed questions about architecture, manufacturing, software, and long-term strategy. Even after leading NVIDIA for more than 3 decades, he still behaves like an engineer first and a CEO second. That philosophy shapes the entire company. Unlike many executives who delegate every technical decision, Jensen dives deep into the smallest details. He wants to understand every challenge, every bottleneck, every risk. Employees often describe meetings with him as intense. He asks difficult questions. He challenges assumptions. He rarely accepts vague answers. Some meetings last for hours. Others force teams to completely rethink a project. It isn't about criticism. It's about eliminating weak ideas before they become expensive mistakes. Jensen once explained something that surprised many people. He said, "Pain and suffering are necessary ingredients for greatness." It wasn't meant to sound harsh. It reflected his own experience. Cleaning bathrooms as a child, nearly losing NVIDIA, watching products fail, making billion-dollar bets while investors doubted him. To Jensen, growth never comes from comfort. It comes from solving problems that seem impossible. That belief became part of NVIDIA's DNA. Inside the company, there is another unusual rule. Jensen believes information should move freely. Instead of building layers of bureaucracy, he encouraged direct communication. Engineers can share ideas. Leaders stay close to technical teams. Important decisions happen quickly. Because in technology, speed matters. A 6-month delay can mean losing an entire market. NVIDIA became famous not only for innovation, but for execution. Another defining characteristic of Jensen's leadership is long-term thinking. Every major breakthrough at NVIDIA required patience. CUDA took years before it generated meaningful returns. AI hardware demanded enormous investments long before customers arrived. Networking acquisitions looked expensive at first. Today, those decisions appear obvious. At the time, they looked incredibly risky. Jensen often reminds investors that building great technology requires decades, not quarters. Few public company CEOs are willing to think that far ahead. Then there is his public image. For years, Jensen Huang has worn almost exactly the same outfit: a black leather jacket, simple black shirt, dark jeans, no extravagant fashion, no luxury image, no attempt to imitate Hollywood celebrities. The leather jacket eventually became one of the most recognizable symbols in the technology industry. Developers began wearing replicas. Fans collected them. Media outlets joked that NVIDIA announced new GPUs, one leather jacket at a time. It became a personal brand without ever being designed as one. His annual GTC keynote presentations evolved into global events, much like Steve Jobs introducing the iPhone or Elon Musk unveiling a new Tesla. Millions tuned in to watch Jensen reveal NVIDIA's latest innovations. Every slide mattered. Every benchmark mattered. Every roadmap mattered. Because investors knew something. If Jensen announced a new AI platform, the entire industry would move. Few executives in history have possessed that level of influence. Despite leading one of the world's most valuable companies, Jensen rarely talks about personal wealth. Instead, he speaks about accelerated computing, scientific discovery, medical breakthroughs, climate research, robotics, artificial intelligence. His vision has always been larger than selling computer chips. He believes AI will become a new industrial revolution, transforming every industry on Earth, and NVIDIA intends to build the engines that power it. But history has taught one important lesson. No technology leader remains untouchable forever. IBM once dominated computing. Intel ruled the CPU era. BlackBerry controlled smartphones. Nokia seemed unstoppable. Every empire eventually faces challengers. Now, for the first time in years, NVIDIA is beginning to face serious competition. AMD is moving aggressively. Intel refuses to surrender. Technology giants are designing their own AI chips. Governments want domestic semiconductor industries. The race has only just begun, and Jensen Huang may be preparing for the biggest battle of his career. Every empire eventually faces its greatest test, not when it's weak, but when it appears impossible to defeat. For more than 3 decades, Jensen Huang has built NVIDIA one impossible decision at a time. He survived bankruptcy. He reinvented computer graphics. He transformed GPUs into AI engines. He spent billions creating CUDA long before anyone understood its value. Then, when artificial intelligence finally arrived, NVIDIA was already waiting. But history has never been kind to dominant technology companies. No matter how powerful they become, someone always comes for the throne. The question is no longer whether NVIDIA will face competition. The question is, who will challenge it first? AMD is investing billions to close the performance gap. Its latest AI accelerators are designed to compete directly with NVIDIA's most powerful chips. Intel is rebuilding its AI strategy, determined to reclaim relevance in the next era of computing. Meanwhile, the world's largest technology companies have grown tired of depending on a single supplier. Google developed its own tensor processing units. Amazon built Trainium and Inferentia. Microsoft is investing in Maya AI chips. Meta is designing custom silicon for its own massive AI infrastructure. Tesla continues developing Dojo. Every major technology company now shares the same objective: reduce dependence on NVIDIA. Because relying on one company for the future of artificial intelligence is a risk few businesses are willing to accept. Then there is another challenge: governments, Artificial intelligence is no longer viewed as just another technology. It has become a matter of national security. Countries are investing hundreds of billions of dollars into semiconductor manufacturing. Export controls have reshaped global supply chains. Advanced AI chips have become strategic assets, not unlike oil or nuclear technology. For NVIDIA, success now comes with geopolitical pressure unlike anything the company has ever faced. Every decision affects not only investors, but governments around the world. Yet, despite these challenges, NVIDIA still possesses something competitors struggle to match: an ecosystem. Most people focus on GPUs, but Jensen Huang never built only hardware. He built an entire platform: CUDA, networking, software libraries, developer tools, AI frameworks, cloud partnerships. Thousands of companies have spent years building their products around NVIDIA's ecosystem. Changing hardware is difficult. Changing an entire software ecosystem is exponentially harder. That may be NVIDIA's greatest competitive advantage. Jensen often reminds audiences of a simple idea: the more you buy, the more you save. It sounds like a marketing slogan, but in AI, it's remarkably true. Larger GPU clusters train models faster. Faster models produce better products. Better products generate more revenue, which allows companies to buy even more GPUs. The cycle reinforces itself, and NVIDIA continues to sit at the center of it. Still, Jensen Huang isn't thinking about today's AI. He's already talking about tomorrow's. Humanoid robots, autonomous factories, digital twins, AI scientists, self-driving vehicles, medical discovery, climate modeling, entire industries accelerated by intelligent machines. To Jensen, generative AI is only the beginning. The next revolution will happen in the physical world, where robots don't simply answer questions. They build, drive, manufacture, operate, and collaborate with humans. If that vision becomes reality, the demand for accelerated computing could become even larger than it is today. Looking back, it's astonishing how unlikely this story really was. A young immigrant from Taiwan, a frightened child cleaning bathrooms in Kentucky, an engineer who believed graphics chips could change the world, a founder whose company nearly ran out of money, a CEO who ignored short-term profits to invest in a future nobody else could see. Every stage of Jensen Huang's journey was filled with reasons to quit, yet he never stopped building, not because success was guaranteed, but because he believed the future belonged to those willing to prepare for it long before everyone else. Today, NVIDIA is no longer simply a semiconductor company. It has become one of the foundations of the AI economy. Its technology powers scientific discoveries, medical breakthroughs, autonomous machines, creative tools, and some of the most advanced artificial intelligence ever created. Whether NVIDIA remains the world's AI leader for another decade, or eventually faces a successor, one fact is already undeniable. Jensen Huang permanently changed the course of computing history. His legacy isn't measured only in market value, or stock price, or personal wealth. It's measured by the technologies that billions of people will use without ever realizing who made them possible. So, can anyone stop NVIDIA? Perhaps. History suggests every giant eventually falls. But history also remembers the people who changed the world before anyone else believed it was possible. And regardless of what happens next, Jensen Huang has already secured his place among the greatest technology visionaries of all time. Because he didn't just build a company, he helped build the age of artificial intelligence.